fly shop here. Joe and Curtis. Curtis, first person on the board. Okay, so tell me about the 4, 5, 6 drifts through the same spot and still actually have a chance at getting the trout. We've been attempting to sell fishing tackle all day and really getting after it. Now it's time to go fishing. We couldn't stand it. The river's in perfect shape. So we're going to do Euro nymphing break. The state allots us a 10-minute break every several hours. So let's do it. Curtis?
We're going to be fishing into about 4-foot holes or so. I want at least 6 feet of fluorocarbon line. I usually use somewhere around 6 pound from this Dacron backing all the way down to my first fly here. And what you can see here is I use a triple surgeon's knot. And what I want to do when I do this triple surgeon's knot to this little tag, and I should probably do this again on film for us.
They can look up how to do a split yoke.
But what we're trying to do is when you have those 2 tags on that triple surgeon's knot, you want to make sure that you leave the tag that's attached to this the Dacron here. That's the tag that we do not want to cut for the simple fact of this fly, our top fly here that's hanging off a little dangler, is going to be attached to our main system.
That is the main line all the way down.
Yeah,
so this is the main line on yours, okay? Mm-hmm. So then we got just a few inches off the main line to prevent tangling here.
Yeah.
And then you got, maybe another
little tangle there.
16 inches. And surprisingly, once it's in the water and fishing, it doesn't tangle that much. It's
absolutely not. And yet you and I were just talking about how long of a little dangler tag that you want on there. And what you'll see online is, the longer the better. I found that about 4 to 6 inches on this little dangler here, of a tag, is going to really help alleviate knots and stuff when you get into wind. Any extra, if you have an 8 to 10 inch tag on there, it's going to really want to tangle around and kind of throw you around with some wind.
Yeah, I think I've been running too long. Okay, well that looks good. That's pretty similar to mine. Dude, let's head for the river. We only got so much time. So we're going to go down there. That was super helpful. We'll go down there and see if we can't catch a fish. My gear's already in the boat. So we're going to go, we got just enough time. We're going to go across river and fish the other side of the river. And I will tell you one thing I've learned, I'm still a hack at this, but the mistake I made, we're on a pretty big river today, but the mistake I've been making or made a lot of early on, and I'm getting better at, is you got to try to break the river into much smaller pieces with this Euro nymph fishing thing. I am like a recovering indicator addict, and I have a propensity to want to feed line 50 feet downstream, and it just doesn't work with the Euro nymph game. You have to move your feet a lot more and get closer to the fish, which also means you have to choose your spots a lot more wisely. So we're going to hit an inside seam where we're going to be casting into more choppy, noisier water, which will allow us to get closer to the fish. Those are also complex currents where a system with no strike indicator is also more effective. So we're going to try to break the river into little pieces, see if we can't get a trout. Are we filming? All right, I was just pissing and moaning about how bad I suck at this kind of fishing, and I've had a tough time this spring getting them because I just honestly haven't had that much time to dedicate to it. In the fall, I thought I was like Euro nymph god. I was just whacking fish in the fall. And this spring, I've had a little bit tougher time. And then Curtis goes down, he catches the first fish. I'm feeling bad. I start changing flies. I broke off on the bottom a couple times. Had to retie. I'm asking Curtis 150 questions. Curtis, is your shoulder tired? My shoulder is so tired.
Your shoulder's going to be a little more tired.
Like, yes. That's a really nice trout. Curtis is like, yes, Joe, your shoulder's supposed to be tired. I was like, I feel like such a chick. No offense to chicks.
Lift that thing up. Show the people what they're missing.
All right.
Uh-oh.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he thinks.
And we're out here to be able to catch a big fish right here. It's actually quite an accomplishment because these fish see a little action, being that they're parked across from reds.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that right there.
Woo!
All right, we're done. Our 30 minutes of glory is over. Lessons learned, Curtis.
Gosh, man, I don't know. You threw me on the spot there.
9-foot rods. 9-foot rod. Good or bad?
Absolutely bad. Each foot, I guess, past 9 that we add, 10-foot rod, you're going to probably get an extra 3 feet of distance that you can cover horizontally, horizontally. And then as far as a vertical drift there, you're probably getting an extra 8 feet per additional foot you have past the 9-foot rod. So the 11-foot rod would definitely be more ideal for this larger river system.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm fishing a 10-footer, and I'm like, man, I could really use an 11 really easy, and I could do a little less line stripping, I think, too, because I can lift that up higher and to take in the slack and like lift my flies up instead of having to strip a little bit of line. And I think that line is really hard to, you can't feed line. So like that's one thing, like as a converted indicator addict, it's really foreign. Is like once it gets below you, you can lower your rod and you can try to drop a little slack out of your hand, but it didn't really work like that. You can't like physically feed line. So a longer rod I could lift up and then I could drop it down. I could really prolong the bottom half of my drift because I wouldn't need to strip in the middle of the drift. Sure. But I will say the 10-foot rod, like we're Czech nymphing a big river right now, like on a big river, an 11-foot rod, like an 11-foot 3-weight would be great. Smaller water, shorter rods are good. I learned that I like fishing 2 small flies with really heavy tungsten beads better than a big fly. Like, sure. I think a really good fisherman, like a good Czech nymph fisherman, could walk into a spot like that and stick fish with stonefly nymphs and bigger flies because they could get them the first time through. But like for me, I'm still learning. So like the first 2 or 3 drifts are kind of like depth finders for me. I'm like, okay, there's the bottom. That's when I lift it up. That's what I do. So it takes me several drifts just to get like started, and a bigger fly is kind of worn his welcome how I don't have the element of surprise going anymore. But I think with those smaller flies, I'm more confident that I can run 4, 5, 6 drifts through the same spot and still actually have a chance at getting the trout. The other thing that I learned is I like heavier tippet. As a noob, I still hang up on the bottom more than I should. I was watching Curtis, and he don't think he snagged at all. And I'm like, I'm up there stuck because I'm letting my stuff get way too deep too fast, and you're dipping it, finding the bottom, picking it up, and mine is hitting the bottom a little too long and dragging.
Absolutely. It's something we talked about as well, is a lot of fish are going to eat that on the initial drop, and that's why you really want to start by just easing your fly down into the column instead of just giving it all the slack that you need for the depth of the column. Just go ahead and start with it, 6 inches and move it all the way down till it's flush with the water. But yeah, maintaining contact at all times is paramountly important.
That, and there is no substitute for just reps, just getting drifts and getting drifts and getting drifts. I have watched Devin Olson's Euro Nymphing DVD, like, you should go buy that. I've watched it several times, and he explains a lot of stuff really well, but there's no substitute for just being in the water, getting drift after drift after drift. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit better, but still lots to learn. I'll keep you updated on the progress.